welcome back, everybody. Pat, what's up, man?
Hey man, what's going on?
Well, little news flash. We're done at softball here. We lost our last game today, and we're coming home, but I'm still on the road. We're still in the hotel, so I'm just coming to you from a bathroom again.
Yeah, it's a nice bathroom, so there's that.
Yeah, it's like my new office.
Yeah, that's cool. At least we
Yeah,
figured out your microphone this time.
yeah, yeah.
So you don't have two of them recording at the same time.
Yeah, it's a little echoey when you have two microphones battling over each other, but we got that
Yeah.
solved.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm not a real tech kind of guy. I just kind of, I'm more of a, I just do what I'm told kind of guy.
Yeah, no, yeah, me too. So who's leading this thing?
That we've had that question since the beginning of this. Like,
Yeah.
we should probably get somebody.
You're kind of the lead and then I kind of do the tech stuff, but I keep screwing it up.
Oh man, if you're putting me in the lead, bro, I'm a door kicker. I am not meant to be the lead. You just point and tell me where to go.
All
That's
right.
kind of how my life was supposed to be.
All right, let's go then.
All right. So, like right off the bat, we covered what yesterday we did one and we talked about the Trump assassination plot because we were going off of when we tried to recover it Sunday or tried to cover it Sunday and then we couldn't. We had all the drama and issues with our tech stuff and then I left and we tried to do it again. It just didn't work out, but there's some things we wanted to kind of go over again in that, and some things that are coming out right now that I just think are absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Hmm.
So one of the things I saw today, I was just scrolling through, or maybe you had sent it to me. I don't even know where it came from. Was the Joy Reid thing talking about we don't even know if this was Trump being shot, right?
Yeah,
And there's other things where she indicated like, well, maybe it was a setup. Have you seen that?
yeah, I have seen it and I was going to send it to you. If I maybe I did, but I thought that I didn't because it irritated me so much. Like
I
I didn't even want to bring it up.
I like this is what it just befuddles me with how the left operates, right? Like a bunch of their people on the left are saying that this kid was so, screwed up that he couldn't even make the shot, right? Like you've had one thing to do and you couldn't exercise it correctly and you missed, bro. So in one side of the coin, the left is saying that completely his lack of experience and skill is what caused them to not have the outcome that they desired, which was a Trump assassination, right? And then on the other side, they're like, no, no, this is a Donald Trump thing. And this kid was so skilled at 140 something yards, he just grazes Trump's ear because he is so skilled. Like, you can't have it both ways, man. You can't have this kid be a complete waste of time and an idiot and doesn't have any skill and missed. And it's your fault that Hitler 2.0 is still alive. And then on the other side, no, no, Trump is so like this is a Trump setup just so they could get that picture and they sprayed blood on his face afterwards. Like, come on, man. Like, what are you really trying to go that route, Joy? Is that your thing? Like you're really trying to go that route?
Well, I don't she wasn't really saying one, I believe she actually said in that clip that you wouldn't bleed that much from getting shot in the ear. Like,
No, because she knows.
okay,
She's experienced that.
that's a new one. And the other one was that she said it was glass from the teleprompter, right? Like
Yeah, I've heard that too.
the glass is what cut his ear. Um, I don't, man, I don't know. You see all the stuff about like the thing today was there was somebody on the water tower and he ziplined down to like no, this is serious. Like people are like literally pushing this. He ziplined off the water tower down to a black SUV that happened to be registered to the Department of Agriculture. So how do you know that vehicle is registered to the Department of Agriculture first if he ziplined off of the water tower and your video footage is from like 1,000 yards away? Like you don't.
Right.
There's just
So,
it's all sorts of craziness. And like you were saying, like, okay, do you know like I'm not a bad shot.
mhm.
There's no way I could do that. There's zero chance I could make that shot and get his ear. And think about just human nature, like moving. They've got I saw late tonight. There is, and I again, it's so hard to know what's true, but somebody was saying that there's video. You can see the second bullet go to the left side of him. So there's one on the right. That was on Rogan actually.
Yeah,
There's
I've seen
one
the
that
video.
one gets his right ear, And he moves when he goes to grab the ear, he moves and there's a shot that goes on the left side.
Yep.
Like
So I
that's
mean,
how think about the odds of that.
well, I mean, so anybody who is marginally trained in shooting shoots center mass of whatever's presented, right? So,
Right.
and if you're trying to go for a kill shot, like this kid is untrained at best. So, I mean, he's trying to shoot Trump in the head because that's what he is assuming is the kill shot, right?
Mhm.
So I'm assuming he went center mass of Trump's head. And like
Yeah,
I
because he's
said,
assuming he's wearing a vest.
correct. And in that, again, we talked, I'm almost certain he had an aim point of some kind.
Yeah, it was
And
washed
he,
out for sure.
and he had the brightness turned up, right? And
Hmm.
so it's washing out Trump's face, and you really don't know where the exact center of that aim point is. So that's how you get a shot to the right and a shot to the left because you can't see where your target is. You don't have a pinpoint spot to aim in that regard, right? So you don't know. The fact that he's shooting left and right, obviously he's in a hurry, right? He's slapping the trigger. He's not taking controlled pairs. So I mean, at that distance, it's tough for somebody who hasn't pulled the trigger much and is just trying to go with what he can.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it, I mean, if this kid didn't even know how to zero a rifle, he may have been shooting groups that are the size of a basketball, so there really wouldn't be any accuracy. We don't know anything about him
And
or enough about
could
him.
you imagine if that's what he hadn't zeroed it properly and that's how close it was without like
I could
just
see
the
it.
well, I get that that's what can happen, right? But like
Mhm.
the odds, right? Like the
Right.
odds of Trump moving, yeah, luck,
The luck involved in all that.
divine intervention.
His lack of skill, Trump moving
Yep.
correctly because you don't know where the bullet's going. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
if
doesn't. He
if you're
moves
this kid,
before the shot happens,
right,
right? So it's not like he figured out where like he's just magical and figured
right.
out exactly where the shot was coming and was able to move the other
He's
way.
not Neo from the Matrix here. He didn't even
Whoa,
know
whoa,
that round
whoa!
hit
We
him.
don't know that.
I guess you're right. He could be, but when you see him, like the first reaction that you see of Trump reaching up and
Yeah.
grabbing his ear,
Yes.
that's not because he had planned to get shot. That is an
Yeah.
absolute reaction of like,
Yeah.
this is what happens when somebody has no idea that something's coming. And like for a second there, it was almost like he was thinking, did I just get stung by something? But there is no doubt in my mind when that bullet came that close to him, he felt it across his entire face. He heard the snap and the hiss as the round zipped past him, and he
Yeah.
felt it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, for Joy Reid to be like, well, we don't know what's going on. And I've seen a couple articles now where she's been kind of pushing the theory that they have no information behind it. So she's not coming out and saying, was this a setup? But she's putting that out there for somebody else to pick up.
Yeah.
And
There's a bunch
that's
of people saying it.
yeah, and it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever
Yeah.
heard in
It's
my life.
insane.
Now,
It's insane.
so she said, we don't know if it was glass from the glass that hit him. We don't know if it was shrapnel that hit him. We don't know. And I'll tell you right now, like if the round came through a teleprompter or something with glass on it, the secondary missling of that glass doesn't come in shards. That comes in like dust and small shards. It would have sprayed him in the face. Sure, he could have got some of that, but that doesn't travel however many feet he is away from the teleprompter. I mean, if you can't see that teleprompter, that glass didn't make it to him. Now, shrapnel across his face, sure, but that wouldn't be pieces of that teleprompter. That would be pieces of the bullet that have broken apart as it's gone through the teleprompter. And he'd be hit by either depending on what this kid is shooting. If he's shooting ball ammunition or, we're never going to know what he was shooting until the investigation comes out, right? But if
Right.
that's a jacketed round with like a tungsten core, so that jacket could peel off and that tungsten core can come through and he'd still get shrapnel from that. But guess what? That's still being shot, Joy. That's that's how these rounds are designed, like it just is what it is. And she's not obviously she's not bright. I mean, she's where she's at for a reason and she's got the ratings she has for a reason. She's not exactly a rock star in her profession, but the thing that gets me is the media is still doing everything they can to downplay this. Time magazine, they didn't put that picture on the cover because they caved to the pressure of everybody else saying, well, if you give him that picture on your cover, you just got him elected, basically, is what they're trying to say. Well,
Hmm.
no, you got him elected on the left for pushing your crazy bullshit. You woke up enough people on the right to see all the lies, and more of it's getting exposed every day. And then you had a 20-year-old kid try to assassinate him. And now you're trying to, again, do exactly what you do, put out more lies, and Operation Shield comes right back in. Now you're trying to shield from the assassination attempt? You're trying to say, oh, well, there's a potential that, hey, maybe this was set up by Trump for the optics of it. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Like,
You
nobody
know,
believes that.
first off, he was leading in the polls. So it's not even like, and how far out are we? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he was already leading. It's to the point where they're trying to force him out, but he's
Right.
refusing to go. I I don't know. Yeah, I'm just reading a tweet from Don Jr. Uh he quote tweeted another person that said it was a breaking for an hour ago from the Wall Street Journal. The gunman who tried to kill Donald Trump was able to fly a drone and get aerial footage of the Western Pennsylvania fairgrounds shortly before the president was set to speak. He
Mhm.
said, just to put this into perspective, just to underscore how crazy this all is, I was once prevented from flying my own drone off the beach at Mar-a-Lago by U.S. Secret Service because my father was inside the house.
Yeah.
But this kid flew a drone over right before he spoke.
So, like I told you from our source that we had talking about this along, we started getting this stuff on Sunday, but uh they put together the who's who of fuck ups to go
Yeah.
cover down on Trump. They replaced his security detail. Trump had to plus up with his own guys, and I'm suspecting that we're going to find out the guys that jumped on stage weren't actually Secret Service. I think that was Trump's own private
So
security.
I saw something today and I didn't even put it together until you just said that most of the security was not Secret Service.
You know, so I think the guys that were actually part of his protective detail were contractors that Trump had hired.
Yeah.
And the rest of the ones in the black, and then the DEI hires that you saw just so performed so poorly.
Hmm.
Like I said, our source told us that those folks were not qualified and were signed off by Kim Cheadle. First of all, Kim Cheadle had an internet meeting, I think it was today, with members of the Senate. And I saw Josh Hawley, the interview of Josh Hawley talking about that. And they're doing these cloak and dagger interviews with Kim Cheadle and trying to figure out what's going on because they don't want to put out for the public. And Josh Hawley today just called, he said, hey man, this is bullshit. We need to put this out for the public to see.
Yeah.
Nothing's adding up. So Kim Cheadle's not taking responsibility for this. Again, it's not her fault, right? It's law enforcement's fault. You're the Secret Service. Your job is to protect. That's
Yeah,
what you
it is
do.
it
It's
ultimately
your
lands on
job.
you.
It's your job. And then she's not doing herself any favors with, oh, the roof was slanted. We talked about that when the snipers
That's
are on another
crazy. That's
another slanted
absolutely
roof.
crazy.
It's just this is typical. I mean, if you think about it, and Josh Hawley said this today, it's typical of the Biden administration. They don't take responsibility for their actions on the border. It's not their fault, right? They
Yeah.
don't take responsibility for their actions with the kids being released to child traffickers. They said it's not our fault. It was turned over to what was it, HHS or whatever it was, or whatever the group was that has these kids, and they let them go after
Oh
seven
yeah,
days, right?
HHS. Yep.
So somebody shows up and picks them up, and it's the same sponsor for multiple individuals. It's not our fault. We did our job at the border. We grabbed them and put them in this and passing the buck, right? Not our fault on the border. Not our fault in Afghanistan, right? With 13 soldiers were killed, and how many Americans left behind, and how many Afghans were just slaughtered with how many billions of equipment that we've left behind, right? Not our fault. That was, nobody took responsibility there, right? I mean, this is a pattern with the Biden administration, and Hawley brought it out today, and he completely hit it on the head. You can't trust this administration for anything. They are inept at like this Secret Service detail that was put on Trump's protective detail
Hmm.
is the same. It's the same symptom for the entire administration. It's like at every step of the way, the people in every one of those positions in his admin are just the worst they could possibly be at the job. I mean, every step of the way.
Yeah.
It's the blind leading the blind. It's Moronville, and at the end of it, we have a deadhead in the executive branch who just can't even. He's a mushhead. He's a potato. He can't think. He can't. There's nothing he can do. I mean, he's an empty vessel being filled up. And I don't know if I sent you that, or maybe you sent it with AOC coming out and saying that nobody's going to go for Kamala, right? She's kind of repping for Biden still
Yeah.
because she realizes, hey, it's his admin, his people that he's been put around him. They're so far left that it benefits her and her agenda. And Kamala is more of the war hawkish, the military industrial complex side of things. So you just see this now, and it's just like, oh my God! At every step of the way, these people are every position in his cabinet is terrible. Every position. Name one person in his cabinet, one person in his administration that you can say has done a good job. Just name one.
Well,
You
there was one
can't.
I just there was yeah, there was one I just read about, but it was one of the ones that oh man, I'll have to pull that up for next time.
Yeah, I can't think of
There
one.
was something that Trump was talking about that he yeah, I'll have to figure that out.
I can't think of one. If you could
Oh
think of
yeah,
it,
no, I
we would be
couldn't
seeing it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I
They'd
couldn't
be
name
playing it
that
right now.
person.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about that before. Who's his chief of staff?
You can't,
You
right? I
can't
mean,
name anyone.
and
You can name the press
everyone
secretary and him and Jill.
everyone you see coming before Congress or coming before the Senate in these hearings is an absolute disaster. And that's a problem. And the Secret Service, like I said, is just a symptom of that. Um, it does not shock me that Kim Cheadle's like, hey, I'm going to pass the buck. Why would I take responsibility for any of this?
Of
No one's
course.
going to hold her accountable. Like
No.
they bitched at Trump and they always made fun of Trump in the media, like he fires everybody. Well, yeah, he holds people accountable. If you can't do the job,
Yeah.
you're out. I'll find
Yeah.
somebody who can, right?
Yeah.
The Biden administration is the exact opposite. It's okay if you don't know how to do your job. You come before Congress and you get asked a question like Mayorkas with Hawley the other day, asking him questions about uh, did he know who this illegal was that killed this person or whatever? And he had no idea. And then he
Mhm.
lied. I mean, like to
Mhm.
get three different responses and three different hearings from Mayorkas saying, no, I don't know. Well, I haven't seen it, or I'm not going to talk about it because it's under investigation. If you haven't seen that interview, that's a priceless one. Because again, there is zero accountability in this entire administration, and it's starting to really piss me off. And again, going with it, like the media and the far left. I saw a thing today. 1/3 of the Democrats believe that this is a setup, that Trump set
Oh
this
yeah,
up
I saw
for
that.
optics. One
It's
third of your party is that
it's
fucking
insane.
insane?
Yeah.
You're that crazy that if you honestly believe this is a setup, I got an idea. I'll float this through you. If you're on the left and you honestly believe that's your thing, you should take your best friend who's also on the left. You should set them up 137 yards away. You should grab a rifle. You should go 137 yards the other direction. And you should aim at their ear, and you tell me how that ends up. That's my that's my
Well,
challenge
that's
for you.
not fair. They're gonna miss so bad that some random person is gonna get smoked.
Hey, they're either gonna miss so badly or they're gonna not miss so badly. Either way, it benefits me and it benefits Trump. And I'm to the point where I'm just like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done listening to this crap. Like when Trump was pointing out stuff, he's a Russian agent, he's a Russian asset, he's a Russian this, and it's
Well, it's the
all
playbook. We've talked about that.
absolutely it's the blueprint they're going with. And now, like one of yours goes ahead and takes a shot at Trump. Oh, and it's Trump did this. It was the
Well, that's
Russians
because he's
probably.
a
We're gonna find
Republican.
we're gonna find out. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna find out this magic zipline guy was a Russian KGB agent who fired from a crossbow bolt all the way down to his Suburban and zip line down like he's freaking Matt Damon from The Bourne Identity. Hollywooded his way all the way in, and this kid was killed well beforehand and then put up on the roof because it's all a Trump setup. I mean, this is
Yeah.
come on, man. Like, what are you kidding me right now?
Yeah,
This is what you're coming up with.
there's a lot of it. Go
And
on, go ahead.
and another thing that came out of the Josh Hawley issue was the Secret Service knew for 62 minutes that this kid was out there. 62 minutes. They knew
Well,
62 minutes in advance that this kid was out
they
there.
marked him as a threat at 3 hours.
Yep. And 62 minutes, they decided that he was an imminent or a potential imminent threat. So 62 minutes of this kid being out there and the Secret Service let Trump go on the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have waited. You could have put air assets in the air to find this kid. You had a description. You saw him out there.
Mhm.
Hey, you could have just put shooters closer to the perimeter.
Yeah.
He can't get in without going through metal detectors. Just put shooters closer to the perimeter. You didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Well, I wonder. So the where I got the most of the security detail was not Secret Service. It
Hmm.
was from a whistleblower, Secret Service
Yep.
whistleblower for Josh Hawley. And he said that it just went on to say DHS assigned unprepared and inexperienced personnel. But I wonder with that if they were pissed, right? Like, not I'm not talking the agents on the ground because I think the few of them had no idea, and the other ones were probably his people that he had picked from before.
Hmm.
But I wonder if like management was pissed, like, oh, he's bringing his own fucking people. Like, we're not going to give them any information. And so they knew it, but then they couldn't find him. And then they didn't tell the other security, the contractors, who would have not let him go out there.
And that's even almost it's almost even worse, right? I mean,
Of
the
course,
optics wide, that would be even worse if that's the thing where Secret Service has the information and they never tell Trump's people.
they didn't tell anyone.
And I don't know if that's the truth. I mean, that's speculation
What
on our
then why
behalf, but
wouldn't
I
any
could
of
see
them
that
do
happening.
that? I could see it happening too, because why wouldn't you're a paid contractor? You don't care.
Right.
Like you don't care. Like this is literally why he brought you on.
Right.
Like, hey,
And
there's a threat. We're not saying you can't do it. Let's find this guy first. We make up some BS later.
listen, and if you're a contractor that's in this side of the house doing these
Hmm.
things, this is your
Butter.
bread and butter, right?
Yeah,
First off.
yeah,
And second off, this is one of the bigger assignments that you're getting attached to. There
yeah.
is no bigger assignment than a U.S. political candidate, whether you're
Hmm.
abroad or you're here. Those are the big ones, right? I
Yeah.
mean, uh, maybe not in terms of pay. I know there's a lot of people that have protected like Saudi princes and things like that that
Sure.
have made tons of money doing it. But in
Uh-huh.
terms of like notoriety, like if
Yeah.
Trump gets killed, your company's it's over,
It's over.
right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
your name is getting dragged through the mud. So this is one of those things where they would have tried to be perfect. And so that's the only way I could see this happening is they didn't have information because there's no way they'd let their protectee go on the stage
That's what I'm saying.
unless we find out Trump was like, I don't give a shit, I'm going on the stage,
Yeah.
which that could be a thing, but I highly doubt it.
I doubt that too, because they'll just delay it.
Well,
Right.
I
Like
mean,
it's not.
right, and if it's us, if it's you and I on that detail, and we know this threat is out there, I would be like, sir, listen, they haven't given us the perimeter we've asked for. They haven't given us the resources we've asked for. There's multiple roofs within 1,000 meters of here that we can't cover. Putting you on this stage right now is a severe threat to you. If there's that we believe there's a threat out there, we just can't do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then maybe we call an audible, and I would say, bring in the Pope glass. If you let us
Right.
put up Pope glass covering all of the high, just on that one side, covering all of the high
Hmm.
shot points, but Trump is so damn tall that it's hard to even get Pope glass put up at that
Yeah.
height. You know what I mean? You're covering a
Yeah.
guy that's 6'5", so it's tough. I mean, that's a modification that has to take place. That it's not something you can do in a hurry unless you have the right assets there to do it. And maybe that's part of it too. But yeah, if it's you or I, he doesn't go on that stage, right? He does
No,
not. He never reaches that stage when we have that information. And second, uh, you know damn well we would have kicked assets out to go apprehend this kid. If law enforcement's
for
not getting it
sure.
done, our guys will, right? That's
Yeah.
that's how this works.
Yeah.
So I just can't see, and this isn't hanging it up on law enforcement by any means. Like I can imagine that we know they contacted the Secret Service to let them know what was going on, and the Secret Service still did nothing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's why it's the who's who of screw ups on the Secret
Yeah.
Service detail. And like we said, it was Kim Cheadle picking it, and Jill Biden helping her pick this is what's coming out
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is where the setup comes into place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is where it looks like a setup to everybody. And hey, it might just be a setup in that regard. So
Yeah.
it's
It's just there's a lot of crazy shit. Like this kid is 20 years old, doesn't have a social media footprint. Are you
mhm.
serious? Like my nephew doesn't have much of a he's got Twitter and that's it. But
Yep.
he's still on one, right? Like
Mhm.
just for sports or other thing. Like,
This kid wasn't playing any sports.
no, I
Uh,
get it, but you're telling me you had no interest where you're not following somebody on social media about something? Like for
I
my nephew, it was sports. For somebody else, Comic-Con, like anything.
I I could see. So this is gonna sound awful, but uh, reports are this kid's parents were psychologists,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Therapists.
Therapists, and I mean they could be the type of parents that are like, hey, you're not getting any of that stuff.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? And I agree. Like social media isn't great for kids to begin with. Um, so it's hard to say. Like some kids just don't have it, right? And if you don't
Yeah.
know it, if you've grown up without it, I could see that being like, that's not an issue. I don't care about this stuff. He's into what he's into type thing. Like
Yeah,
the group of friends that he has are his group of friends, and maybe they're not into it. Like it's possible in this day and age that that's a thing, right? You see it kind of with homeschool kids that like they're not subject to the social pressures that other kids are and necessarily need social media because, you know, it's not been a thing for them. And a lot of parents are trying to steer their kids away from social media. And honestly, I think that's right. That's the right decision.
a hundred
Um,
percent. But most of them still have something.
yeah, and
To say you have nothing,
yeah, and like the thing that gets me is like I almost at this stage of the game, I think everybody goes on YouTube, but you don't necessarily have to have a YouTube account to be on there, right?
sure, yeah,
So I mean, you can still do stuff and see stuff, and I think that's probably the route this kid takes. I just don't think by looking at this kid wasn't an athlete. You can tell. Uh,
no,
this
yeah,
kid was like a smart kid. He was a kid that probably didn't have a ton of friends because this is how you develop that profile behind the shooter. Probably didn't have a bunch of friends. He probably was looking to he was probably influenced first of all by whatever circles that he was around. It maybe his parents, maybe family members, maybe the limited amount of friends that he had. Um, but also through all the stuff he's watching, maybe on YouTube or wherever this kid's getting his information, he's probably influenced by it. Or the other side of this thing is this kid could be, and it's not hard to have that social media footprint and be smart enough to cover it, right? This kid could be one of those kids that is smart enough to and tech savvy enough that you wouldn't know he had it. There's that potential too. And I know
maybe.
saying that people are going to be like, well, that just leads more to the conspiracy. Well, no, it doesn't.
I,
But this,
there's enough out there already. This isn't leading anywhere new.
right. And, I mean, and what I'm saying by that is I have a 15-year-old, 10 feet away from me right now, laying in a bed watching Toy Story that can hide her social media footprint if she chooses to, because she's way more tech advanced than I will ever be. So, I mean, that's a thing that they can do that. But why would you? You know what I mean? It almost feels like all his social media stuff was scrubbed. That's what it feels like to me in terms of like the greater conspiracy. That to me would be more realistic than him not having any. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
oh, they had this out in advance. Like, okay, they had facial recognition software or whatever they had, and all of a sudden it pops up that it's this kid, and immediately the Secret Service is like, whoa, hold on, let's contact somebody, and then all of a sudden the social media site's like, oh, that page, nope, that doesn't exist. There's no footprint there. We're not wanting any part of this. That's what it seems like, almost to me. And that's going way past into like tinfoil hat. But I mean, if you if you knew in advance that this kid was going to do it, like you somehow had some sort of AI helping you find stuff, tracking stuff, and you were on the inside of a like the Biden admin, and you're like, yeah, let this fucking kid do it. We know he's going to do it. Then maybe you go ahead and you delete everything the kid has and erase the footprint. Like the deep state could do that if they wanted to. They could.
yeah.
That would be more realistic to me than this kid not having anything. And but it's do I believe that that's what happened? No, I don't. I just believe this kid was a kid who just grew up without it.
Well, I don't know, man, because like, did you see the thing today that he had threatened to shoot up the school he was at
That does not surprise me. Yeah. Well, yeah.
and have bombs in the bathroom or something? Like, the FBI is investigating that, like interviewing his classmates from then. Like the school, like I must have been local law enforcement that was like, they're like, whatever, he's just talking from back in the day. But
Yeah.
I think it was either his freshman or sophomore year, maybe
This kid
that it
is
happened.
unstable. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
unstable. And the other thing I saw too is this is kind of shocking to me. The FBI still hasn't figured out the motive, but one of his classmates was questioned. He said, yeah, he hated conservatives, he hated Trump, he hated Republicans.
yeah,
So one reporter can talk to one kid and figure out what a potential motive is. The FBI can't figure it out. Of course, it's an ongoing investigation. They're not going to say
right,
anything, but uh, nobody trusts. This is the problem we have, right?
correct.
Nobody trusts any of the institutions because they've been used, they've been weaponized.
They've lied to everyone.
And when you weaponize any of these institutions to go after parents at a school board meeting, you've ruined all credibility you have. When you lie to investigate Donald Trump, you've ruined all credibility you have. No one is going to buy anything you come out with. Nothing on either side now. So, if you remember way back when Comey reopened the Hillary Clinton email scandal right before the election, that tainted the FBI for the left, right? They all came out and said, it's your fault that Hillary lost. It's your fault that Donald Trump won the election. It's your fault. It's your fault. He had no choice. All the information came out. If he doesn't reopen that investigation, I mean, he looks even worse off as a deep state player, right? So, I mean, it's both sides. Nobody trusts these institutions. They've drugged themselves through the mud so much that nobody ultimately is going to believe anything they say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many times have we talked about that? Right? Like
Hmm.
it's just, it's not that, it's not that everybody wants to believe in conspiracies. It's that the lack of trust for anything and the self-induced situation that all these the media and everything have, like, I don't know. It's hard to, like, I don't want to be into like all these conspiracies. However, you can't trust any of them, right? Like
Right. I mean, you
it's not
like,
it's not like I go out looking for conspiracy. I don't think the earth is flat. I don't, like, there's all this stuff and it's just like, man, maybe there is just a bunch of shit that just fucking went wrong, right?
right. I mean, that
Or
happens all the
or
time.
may or maybe there's something more, but you certainly can't trust the people that are giving you the news.
Right. Right. And
So
that's the
then what?
biggest problem.
Then what? Then
That's the problem,
now
right?
you're trying to find people online that are that, and you have to try to figure out, like I said, the guy ziplining off the, like,
I
that's the
love it.
shit that you're competing with, right? Like
Right.
there's so much, and you just want to be able to trust the news, and you can't.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look in terms of all this thing is gone, I mean, it's been a pain in the butt. The way things have set up. I mean, it is the media's fault that we are where we are, right? If you're just going to be dishonest at best, nobody can trust you. And then you have, of course, the agencies taking advantage of that. If there's nobody in that, that's a pivotal check and balance that we have in our governmental system, right? Is a free press. And the free press is there to keep you and I and everyone else informed of what the problems are and the corruption that's in place. But when the media was monopolized by six companies, like we've talked about in previous episodes, when they've monopolized the media, it's up to them. They're telling lies. They're half truths at best. It's manipulated for their agenda, and now nobody trusts it. It reminds me of that Joe Rogan episode where they were talking about that Russian ex-KGB agent that came across and defected, and he was talking about how uh, the end stages of our country dying will look exactly like this, where nobody will know what's right, nobody will know what's wrong, nobody will know
Yeah.
what is true or not, and that's where we're at, right? Like you've disenfranchised people so much with your bullshit, with your lies for profit. I mean, that's all it is, for profit and power. And you've led us down this road to where, unfortunately, a political candidate, it doesn't matter if he's left or right. It's a political candidate. There was an attempted assassination, and you got us to that point. You know what I mean? And here we sit, we're on the backside of this whole entire thing, and nobody trusts anything that's taking place.
Yeah. We can't get off the media yet
Okay.
because of your boy.
Joey.
Yeah, Mr.
I
Scarborough.
I can't wait. What's Joey saying today?
Have you seen what happened to him?
No,
You didn't see?
no. I've
They
been
they yanked him.
softballing.
They yanked him on Monday, the show.
I heard they yanked him.
So they told everyone that they were
Yep.
running one single feed.
And he found out and he said they quit the next time it happened. I did see that.
He had a meltdown this morning, but they took him off the air because they
Mhm.
were afraid that one of them was going to say something stupid.
Well, they
They didn't
have
trust
been.
him. Well, of course they have been, but
Right.
this
I
was
mean,
right after the assassination attempt
right. They
that they
didn't
were
trust
just
that
going
they
to
wouldn't.
inflame. Yep. And
And that's what he
they
does,
and they
right?
lied to him. Yeah, that's what they pay him for. I don't know what the problem is. But what kind of a message does that send that the brass at MSNBC doesn't even believe you?
Well, yeah. Well, the American people have, again, the ratings speak loudly, right? Like I get that he's the number one show in the liberal left in terms of numbers, right? But you compare that to the other side of the coin, the conservative, the Fox News morning shows, and it's not even close. The numbers speak for themselves, right? The guy's a clown. You know he's a clown. Mika's a clown, right? And
Mhm.
again, it's not anyone else's job to tell you what to believe. It's theirs, right? And that's the whole premise of it. And this is a guy who used to claim he was a conservative, who served in our government systems as a conservative. He's garbage. He's a trash pile.
Yeah, I got a video of it now. I
Hit it.
found it.
Before we start this hour, Willie, I just wanted to briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day.
You're gonna love this.
And talk about what happened yesterday. We were told in no uncertain terms on Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels. That we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why didn't happen. Or
We do.
team was not given a good
you
answer as to
absolutely
why
do.
that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We were also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So
Just wait for Mika.
we've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, Willie, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage. Savannah and I led the coverage on Sunday in the immediate aftermath, talking to eyewitnesses, talking to officials about what happened. Obviously suited up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning, and we're told that something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today, going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we are here today. I wish we were here yesterday.
It gets better.
Yeah, we wish we would have been here yesterday. We're still, or would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one news feed.
I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place where you can go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on. And I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour.
Where they can have tough conversations, huh? Where they can spew a bunch of bullshit is what it is. And I
there's a part in there I think coming up, but I cut it off as it goes for another minute, that she says the viewers trust her, and
nobody trusts. Sure. I mean, but again, this is the 1/3 of their side who believes some guy ziplined, probably, some guy shot Trump in the ear that Trump hired just so he could put his fist in the air,
Yeah.
Like,
that's the other thing.
Ways.
Joy Reid, that clip from Joy Reid about why the Secret Service allowed him to get up and what are you talking about? You can literally hear on the video they say the threat's neutralized.
Again, facts of the matter, they don't matter. I mean, it is what it is. It blows my mind. Like, they're so dishonest. They're so they're so disingenuous. They're so ridiculous. They're over the top. Like, you couldn't paint this any better for a comedy. Just looking at how they act and how they are, and it makes me wonder. Like, you have to be a giant narcissist, or you have to be borderline psychotic to be them and believe that. Do you think they really believe the shit they're spewing, or is it just that they're getting paid so well they're gonna toe the propaganda line no matter what? But I for them to be saying the stuff they're saying, it's just wow, you can't really believe this. Like, Scarborough, you can't really believe the stuff you're saying. There's no way.
He probably does, because he's insane. Right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have to be insane to really believe that.
I mean, they live in their world. And
that's it.
That's
only their world.
Yep. And that's what they were lied to, and they can't believe they were lied to because they get paid to sit there and lie to everyone else.
Mhm.
So what's the problem? What's different? And the difference is they didn't want to incite anything else.
Right. I mean, at that point, it's such a hot topic. Listen, like,
There's too much damage control then for
I,
MSDNC.
it just bothers me, right? Like at every stage of the game, if it's like I said, if it's you and I planning that op, planning that that protection detail, if it's us in charge of figuring out how to protect Trump, take us out of the picture. If it's anyone on Trump's side of the base, Trump's base, any one of his supporters, take any supporter at that event, and you said, "Hey, I need you to plan how to protect the president. We're going to put him here in the middle of this field, and there's all these buildings around. What should we do?" That wouldn't get fucked up, right? You, it's so obvious what's taking place, and then to have like ass clowns like Scarborough be pissed off because you know what's coming when he gets on the next morning. It's going to be more anti-Trump propaganda. It's, oh, Trump brought this on himself, and if Trump wasn't so divisive, if Trump wasn't this, Trump wasn't that. Take Trump out of remove Trump from this whole thing. Like, stop saying Trump's name. It's still a political candidate that was almost assassinated. You know what I'm saying? Nobody thinks it's okay, and you shouldn't think it's okay to take shots at a political candidate, and you don't want that to be okay. If you're on the left, if you're Joe Scarborough, any of those people on the left, you don't want that. And I'll tell you why, because the right has better trained people who are better at carrying this kind of stuff out than the left does. Why? Because they get like 80% of the military, 80 to 90% at this point of law enforcement across the board. You don't want to step foot into this game, and that's a dangerous thing to do. Like, I don't know how to say it any better than that. Stop fucking around and start telling the truth.
Yeah.
Once we can get back to the truth, we can start fixing things. But again, like we talked about in previous episodes, you have to get to the ground level first and start. We got to get to rock bottom before we can start building. Once we're back to bedrock, we'll start fixing this and building this country back up the way it's supposed to be. You can't do that with all these people in there crying about they weren't allowed to talk about Donald Trump almost getting shot in the face, right? And
Yeah.
if I hear one more person say, "Oh my gosh, Trump did this as a conspiracy. He had some guy on a water tower zip lining across," like that shit doesn't happen. That's Hollywood. Like, nobody is zip lining across from a water tower down to a suburban. That's not happening. That's that. Stop watching Hollywood. Like, what? Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. It's like this. It blows my mind. Like, the people are fucking nuts. They're nuts. And I, Joey didn't disappoint again. Like, his
Yeah.
temper tantrums, he doesn't disappoint. He's our guy.
Yep. All
He's
the
our guy.
time.
We got to do like an ode to Joey podcast where we just to have clip after clip after clip of him being wrong and him being a dumbass, and just like a top 10.
You know what we can do? We can just do a YouTube video so we don't waste our time on.
Yeah,
Then people
do
can
it.
go see it. We'll put it on our
A,
channel.
a top 10 of Joey being an idiot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just, this guy, man, like, and Joy Reid too. I mean, she's all kinds of stupid.
She's not even worth it.
No,
Everything
no,
she says is ridiculous.
no. And yeah, I mean, she is just there. Well, and Christ, it's all of them at this point. You know what I mean? It's not just one of them. It's all of them. And again, to be fair, there are some on the right side that are the same way. So I'm going to be fair. I'm going to play the middle card on this, and there's some on the right that are the same way. But I don't think if this were Biden on stage and he had his ear, zipped by a freaking round, I don't think anybody on the right is going to be like, "Oh yeah, that didn't happen. That was a guy on a water tower zip lining down." We would be like, "Okay, yep, I'm sorry. It's one of our crazies. We totally disavow what this idiot did. That's not what we're about." Right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's where we're at.
Yep.
It bothers me, dude. Like, we should have the state of this country. Like we said, we talked about it's a much different place. You
Yeah.
know, we knew about this on Sunday that it was the counter sniper team, the first one that took the shot. You watched him bounce his rifle when he did it, and he was
Yeah.
actually, from what I hear, it was two shots.
So
Um,
I just sent Ben a text that says a source with familiar with the investigation tells me a U.S. Secret Service counter sniper took the shot that killed Thomas Crooks. He could only see Crook's scope in the top of his eyes and forehead. because of the lip of the roof. The source described the shot as a 1 in a million shot. Not so sure with the equipment they have, but you'll be better with that.
Yeah, and I mean,
I mean, it's not that long of a range. Like they had their scopes are way better than what Crooks had.
no, I mean this is a chip shot for him, but still under pressure.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, you're seeing the rifle, and I I sent you the picture of this kid, obviously, right? When the
Yeah.
aftermath that we got. So
Yeah, that's crazy
that,
that that picture was out there.
oh yeah, I got that thing instantly.
Yeah.
So that that round came in above his left eye. He was on his sight with the right eye. And
Yeah.
that side of the face, if you think about it, that building that the counter sniper team was
Hmm.
on was off to his left. So you can see where that round entered the top of his head and kind of went down through his face and exited by his neck. Um, maybe that's a little bit graphic, but it was a good shot, man.
I don't
The
think you're gonna
the
offend our fans.
yeah, the counter sniper made an excellent shot on a small target, but 1 in a million. I bet you if you put this cat out there on a rooftop, you go to 500 yards, he'd make that shot,
Yeah, that's
and
what I'm saying.
you'd be like, "Oh, this kid's really good." Well, of
Don't
course
get
he's
me
a sniper
wrong.
does.
It's a hell of a shot. I just don't
Yeah,
think it's a 1 in a million for
not
that.
for
Not
not
for
for
that
this kid,
guy. Not
not
for
for
that
this
guy.
kid. No,
Yeah.
this kid's making these shots.
Yeah.
This was a chip shot for this kid. This kid
Yeah.
has skill. I mean, a lot of skill. So, um, and again, talking about our source that we've been getting some of this info from, this counter sniper kid, he's like a true stud. So,
Oh,
I
really?
mean, yeah, like, and we'll talk more about his true studliness after this, but
Yeah.
uh, he's not. This was not a. This is him doing what he does in his natural environment, if
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that.
Yeah.
That this shooter had no chance with both of those guys that were up on the roof were very skilled in what they do, and it's a damn good thing they were,
Yeah, for sure.
because if this kid didn't make that shot, uh, and from what I heard, it's two shots. It wasn't one. It was
Hmm.
two,
Hmm.
and they were both like equally
Well,
devastating.
have you seen the sorry, do you have to go?
I'll be like I got 5 more minutes.
Okay. Uh the supposed sound engineer, the forensic analysis of
Acoustic
the sound,
analysis.
yeah,
Yeah.
of the sound that said there's four shots from three different or two different, is it two different or three different weapons?
Yeah, that can happen. I mean, so I saw a same kind of forensic, because what they do is they triangulate where the shooters are based off the different
Yeah.
analysis of the rifles. So like you can take your ballistics for your rifle, and you know from the sound of the report to the time of impact based off your ballistic, and you can gauge like a distance from the shooter, and then you take multiple devices that recorded it around, and you get the same kind of analysis from each one of those devices. So if you record and you're 150 yards to my right, and I record, well, let's say you're 150 yards to the right of Trump, and I'm 150 yards to the left of Trump, and there's 300 yards between us. Then somebody recorded from right below the kid. They
Hmm.
take all those, and they can take the known round that he's taking, the rifle that he's using. They can take all that, they can build it into an equation, and they can triangulate about where the rounds are coming from. But what they find in that analysis is when they put these sounds together, if they don't match up acoustically, then you know that it's a different round with a different, something.
Hmm.
And then they can say, well, this doesn't fit. So we know that this round is traveling at this speed, which means its analysis should be this. And if it's not traveling like that, then we know that it was a different round from a different rifle. And so, yeah, you can have that. I saw that for the Vegas shooting with the 240s.
Yeah.
Um, like I told you right off the bat, I'm like, there's no way this was anything but 240s in that Vegas shooting. Like
Hmm.
I that's just from me hearing that gun go, thousands of times. But that can be done, and there's absolute forensic proof when you do that. But then you also have to take into play with that obstructions, right? So like one of the big things in an urban environment is when somebody pulls a trigger, you don't know sometimes where the round is coming from because the sound's bouncing so much. So they have to
Yeah.
take that into play. If they took that into play and they filtered that all out, then yeah, you can believe those acoustic forensics if you see it. I'm not saying this one was real because I haven't seen it or anything like
Well,
that,
and
but
it nothing from an official source, right? So you don't
right.
know.
So
You
you
don't
don't
know.
know, but you can bet the FBI, the Secret Service, everybody else is looking at this stuff too. They're
Yeah,
doing the
for
same
sure.
things,
For
right?
sure.
So
For sure.
if there's something to it, we're going to hear about it eventually.
Yeah.
They have no choice. Like, I honestly, and the reason why I don't think this was like a bigger conspiracy to assassinate Trump, that there was more than one gunman, is because you can't fucking get away with it now. You can't.
No. With
Um,
all the cell phone videos,
yep.
and I
There's
mean,
too much. There's too much
they
evidence.
it would have been out there even if the FBI or Homeland Security or whoever else is investigating didn't have it, it'd be out somewhere from some media source.
There's too much evidence
Hmm.
that you'd get, right? And to do this, you would have to take a shot at Trump with a suppressed round, with a suppressor and subsonic rounds to mask behind the shooter's round. So you're hearing his rifle report and you're not hearing mine because I'm shooting suppressed subsonic rounds. But then the farther I go out with a suppressed subsonic round, the less damage I'm doing to Trump, right? So
Yeah.
you have to really get in close to be effective with that round at certain distances. I'm not going to say exactly what those distances
Yeah.
are, but
No, for sure.
but
Uh
that could happen, but I don't believe that did happen.
no, and so the other thing was like CNN, this was the first Trump rally that CNN did live broadcast. Well,
The funny thing with that is I just got that from one of our viewers. He just sent
so,
it to me. He's like, "Really?" He's like, "This
well,
bullshit. There's something behind this."
yes, they all thought he was announcing his VP that day because it was near JD Vance doesn't live very far away in Ohio
Yep.
from where the rally was. Every major network was there because they thought that was the last one before the convention and they thought he was going to do it then. And so you have that again, you don't trust the media, right? So you're not going to believe them. But that's why they were all there, which
Yeah, I
will
mean, at
help with the
this
evidence of the shooting because there's how many more cameras that
right
have all that live feed.
at this stage of the game, the problem is right now we don't know. We don't have a
Yeah.
government we can
No,
trust,
yeah, for sure.
right?
Or a media.
Or media. So if you don't have a government you can trust and the media is not performing their checks and balances, who do you trust? It's not hard to believe based off what we've seen out of the Biden admin that this wasn't planned, right?
Right.
They've gone after him with legal lawfare. They've gone after him with impeachments. They've gone after him for January 6th, like he was the one who organized this and completely did it. They've lied constantly about him being a Russian asset. They spied on him. They've freaking dogged him every chance they get. They give him 95 to 98% negative coverage. They don't cover anything good. They blame him for things that were Trump or Obama era policies like kids in cages. They all these things, all of it. They painted him out to be a racist. They painted him out to be a bigot, a transphobe, a homophobe. They've done all this stuff, right? So how then? That's why people just don't believe. If everyone knew, all Trump supporters, you can ask them, they believe he is set to win this election
Yeah.
even before this
Hmm.
assassination attempt. It's not a hard thing if you're any one of, and myself included. It's not really. I don't think it was an assassination attempt that set up with the Secret Service and everybody else. Maybe they knew in advance that this kid was out there and planning it. I That could be, and they were just going to let it happen. I believe that. I believe that. But I don't think they took any part in planning it outside of giving Trump the shittiest detail they could and denying resources and on their side of the coin, hoping that this kid, if they knew he was out there and they had caught him in advance, was going to be successful. That's where it ended, right? And then these social justice warriors, in my view, like the Kim Cheadle, would be like, okay, it's my fault. I will resign. I'll fall on the sword. But in the end, she did her service to her cause and her agenda. So I could see that happening, right? That to me is the scarier thought than CNN was covering this to see Trump be assassinated. But
Yeah.
again, you're not gonna
Why
you
would
almost
anyone
can't
believe the media?
yeah, you almost can't tell somebody who's believing that they're wrong because you honestly don't know. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a potential that's the truth. And that's the scary side of it. But then you look at the other side and they're like, well, there's the potential that there was a guy on a water tower. That's the problem we have right now,
Hmm.
right? Nobody is telling the truth. Nobody's being held accountable. And everybody is just targeting everybody who's their political opponent. And that shit needs to stop.
Yeah.
And until we get back there, until we get to a point where we can reach our hands across the aisle, shake hands, and do what's right, um, we're not going to be there. We're not going to fix this country. And I was saying this earlier today to some folks that I was around. When you see one third of the left believes it was Trump with a conspiracy, and then you have one third of the right probably believing that it's a conspiracy to kill Trump, you're really cascading towards something more dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's a scary thought. That's where we need to get away from. That's what we need to avoid because when that comes out and that happens, you can't undo something when it's been done. If you cast the whole Civil War belief and the whole country falls into that spell of believing the Civil War is what's needed, whether you're left or right, um, that's dangerous. We're never coming back from that. China's just waiting for that. Russia's just waiting for that. You know what I mean? Uh, when you take our American military, and this is my personal belief of how this shakes out if we go into a civil war. If we go into a civil war, if I would believe, at least in my time in the military, the generals that were at the top would take our forces, our Navy would push off the coast, and our Air Force wouldn't get involved in the Civil War. They'd go to places where they, on the West Coast and the East Coast, and they'd go to places where they could lock down air reserves and just perform sorties out of those areas and fly around, making sure that external threats like China and Russia don't show up on our doorstep. That's what I think they would do in my time in the military. They wouldn't get involved. They wouldn't choose a side. They'd push out and they'd say, whatever happens, happens. I do believe they would do that. They would grab their strategic reserves, secure that, keep their supply lines open to defend the nation, and they would just wait and see how it shook out.
Yeah.
That's what your military, they're apolitical. That's what your military should do. I don't see that happening now with Biden. Biden would try to tell them, no, you're going to be used to carry out airstrikes against Texas or against whoever. I don't see that happening. I don't see anybody fighting an American citizen from a military standpoint. I just don't think they'll do it. That's me. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's me.
Yeah.
Which then again, this leaves left versus right getting in fights. And if you're on the left, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble if you push that envelope and you go for that. Second, on top of that, like I said, if you're a media figure on the left, if you're a Hollywood elite on the left, if you're like one of the pedophiles on the left, like the Bill Gates is the you're on somebody on the right's target list, and you keep running your yak, you keep doing that, they're gonna show up if you push this civil war crap. If this is what your end game is, this is what you're trying to do, they're gonna show up for you. They're coming for you. And again, if you're on the right and you're a media figure, you probably have somebody on the left coming for you too. Good news for you on the right, they're not going to be very good, according to what we've already seen on the left with how they do things. They may
Yeah.
show up, but you got a really good chance of going 10-1 in a victory. So, uh, I don't know. We just need to step back and stop. It's just we don't want to take it the way we're taking it. It has to stop. It has to. And I don't know how we do that. Like it's not going to stop until there's accountability in the media first. That's where it has to start, and it has to start soon.
Mhm.
Once that happens and we get rid of everybody and stop this whole clickbait bullshit of journalism and get back to just reporting the facts, when we do that, maybe we got a chance to frickin' actually have a check and balance that's used to stop some of the shit that's out there.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
man. I got to dip out.
Yeah. No worries.
You working in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I am.
3 o'clock wake up for you, buddy.
It is.
Sorry, I got to drive 9 hours back home tomorrow. So
I'd trade you, but that's impossible.
yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for listening to this and kind of a little diatribe again, but it's getting crazier. It's like Pat said, every day, like we are here, he's been sending me articles of stuff, and I'm just like, that can't possibly, like the Joe Scarborough thing, like whatever. It's
Yeah,
just getting
there's
crazier.
there's a lot of crazy stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to filter through. Like now that I mean, it's still even right now, there's still more coming out, and this whole water tower shooter thing, this just it's blowing my mind. Now somebody
I,
said the FBI has the guy's cell phone. Like, come on.
yeah. How
He
do you know?
he ziplined off of the water tower and
It,
somebody posted a video driving by and it was all wrapped around police tape, like around the water tower. Like,
yeah. I mean, we'll find out
we'll
tomorrow that
see.
somebody
We'll see.
committed suicide, jumped off the water tower,
Yeah,
and then like, oh, okay, whatever.
we'll see.
I mean, it's the simplest answer, Occam's razor, right? I mean, the simplest
Yeah.
answer is usually that's usually right. And not always, but in this case, the holes in the cheese lined up. This kid made it in there because of a piss poor detail with piss poor planning with piss poor resources. The kid got on the roof because you had a Secret Service that was DEI hires. We're not even qualified to do the job, but we're being you know, being allowed to do the job, appointed by Kim Cheadle and Jill Biden, and here we are. This is what happens. That's your conspiracy. You want to get to the bottom of that conspiracy. That's your fucking conspiracy right there. You need to be pushing everyone on your political side. If your congressmen, your senators, you should be calling them and saying, get to the bottom of why Kim Cheadle allowed this detail to be on there. Why do we have Secret Service agents that get wavered into a position to protect a fucking former president when they
Yeah.
can't even pass the course?
Yeah.
That's your conspiracy.
Yeah. That's it. That's
That's
what it
it.
is. All right, man. Well, have a safe drive back.
Yeah,
We'll
brother, we'll see you.
we got all sorts of stuff to do with Biden and this getting pushed out. Is he leaving Sunday? Is he not? Who knows, man? It's gone both ways all day long.
I know.
So
I still like until it happens, man. I don't know.
yeah, maybe we'll do another one tomorrow night or Sunday
All right.
night and talk about that.
Sounds good.
Or we'll probably end up talking about more crazy that's come out about this.
It's just so it's like every day
It's
there's something
every day.
else.
Yeah, for sure. So
All right,
right
brother.
on. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, everyone.
Check us out on our website, social media pages, and spread the word. Let's get it
Yeah.
out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. See ya.